The cowboy came home to an Apache woman in despair. What happened next will shock you. Elias Cole came home to Dustfall Station with sand still in his boots and space still in his lungs. His ship, a small scout cutter with a tired engine, settled onto the landing pad like an old horse finally stopping after a long ride. The pad lights flickered as if they had forgotten how to shine. Beyond them, the station lay quiet under a pale sky that never seemed to decide if it wanted to be day or night. The wind pushed dust in long, slow waves across the metal streets. It made the whole place look like it was trying to bury itself. Elias stayed in the cockpit for a moment and listened. No voices on the local band. No welcome ping. No traffic reports. Just static and the low hum of his ship's cooling system. He had imagined this place many times during deep missions. He had pictured busy streets, loud bars, the smell of hot oil and fried bread, and people who had stories worth hearing. But the station outside his window looked like a ghost town built from steel. He checked the old hollow map of Dustfall Station. It still showed supply depots, a clinic, a market ring, water towers, and the tall solar spires that used to feed the grid. Most of those icons blinked in warning colors now, like the map was embarrassed to show how bad things had become. Elias pulled his hat on as a habit more than a need. It was not a real cowboy hat, not like the ones from Earth's old stories, but it had the same wide brim and stubborn shape. He wore it because it helped him remember the kind of man he wanted to be when the universe felt too wide. He took his rifle case from the rack, not because he expected trouble, but because a frontier without tools was just a trap. The airlock opened with a sigh. Heat rolled in, mixed with grit and a faint smell of burned wiring. Elias stepped down the ramp. The dust here was fine, almost like powder. It clung to the seams of his boots and the hem of his coat. He started walking, his footsteps loud in the empty air. A sign above the main street read DUSDFALL Station in letters that had lost their paint. Beneath it, someone had scratched a new message into the metal with a sharp tool. We were here. Elias frowned. He did not like that. It sounded like the last line in a story that ended badly. He walked past the closed market stalls. Their shutters were down, and most had dents like something had kicked them in. A water fountain sat dry and cracked. A few solar lamps leaned at strange angles. There were no animals, no drones, not even the buzzing little service bots that used to clean the streets. It was too quiet, the kind of quiet that made a person listen to their own breathing. He reached the edge of the station's central yard, where the largest solar tower stood. Or used to stand. Now the tower lay broken on its side. Its metal spine was snapped and half buried in sand. Cables spilled out like black vines. The panels were cracked and some were missing entirely. Near the fallen structure, someone had built a small wall out of scrap sheets and plastic crates, as if they were trying to guard the remains. Elias slowed. A figure stood near the wall, facing the tower. The person was still but not relaxed. Their posture looked like someone who had been holding themselves together for too long. The wind tugged at their coat and hair. Their shoulders did not move even when the dust hit them. Elias approached carefully, showing his hands. "Hello," he called. "I'm not looking for trouble." The figure turned. She was a woman with dark hair tied back in a practical braid, and her face carried the kind of tired that sleep could not fix. Dust streaked her cheek like war paint made by the planet itself. Around her neck she wore a small bundle wrapped in cloth and a thin necklace of beads that looked old and cared for. Her eyes were sharp, but they held pain behind them like a storm seen through a window. Elias recognized her even after years. "Naya," he said softly. For a moment she did not answer. Her gaze moved over him as if checking whether he was real. Then her jaw tightened. "Elias Cole," she said. Her voice was steady but thin. "You actually came back." He did not know what to say to that. He had left Dustfall Station on a contract run, then another, then another. The Coalition always had a reason. The frontier always needed scouts, and he had told himself he would return when the timing was right. Timing was a lie people used to feel better. "I came as soon as I could," he said. Naya gave a small laugh that had no warmth. "As soon as you could, sure." The wind picked up. The broken solar tower groaned slightly as the sand shifted around it. Elias glanced at it. "What happened here?" Naya's eyes followed his. "Everything happened," she said. "Slow, then all at once." Elias walked closer. He saw tools laid out near the scrap wall, a cracked plasma welder, a coil of cable, a hand-driven drill, and a few old battery cells. There was also a small beacon unit, the kind used for emergency signals, but this one had been modified. Wires ran from it into a box made of alien alloy, smooth and dark, with strange markings that seemed to drink the light. His breath caught. "Where did you get that?" Naya's hand moved to the alien box, protective without thinking. "From below." "Below where?" "Below the sand," she said. "Below the station, below the world." Elias had heard stories. Every frontier world had stories. People talked about old ruins, buried machines, strange lights in the desert. Most of it was fear mixed with boredom. But Naya was not the kind of person who chased rumors. She was an engineer, yes, but also an archivist. She studied history the way some people studied weapons. If she said from below, it meant she had seen something real. Elias kept his voice calm. "Naya, what's going on? Where is everyone?" Her face tightened again. "Gone," she said. "Some left on the last supply shuttle, some didn't make it that far, some disappeared." Elias felt cold despite the heat. "Disappeared how?" Naya looked at him, and something in her expression warned him not to push too hard. "No blood," she said. "No bodies, just empty rooms and open doors, like the station took a breath and forgot who was inside." Elias swallowed. "Why didn't you leave?" She looked away, toward the horizon where the desert stretched like a sea of bone-colored dust. "Because my people are here," she said. "Because the stories are here. Because the land remembers, even if the coalition doesn't." Elias knew a little about her people, not as much as he should have. Naya's family had come to Dustfall generations ago, part of a migration that followed work and survival across stars. They carried old songs and old names, and they built new homes without letting the old ones die. Naya used to say that the land was a book. You could read it if you listened long enough. He had teased her once and called her a myth maker. Now she looked like someone who had been forced to watch myths become warnings. "What is that beacon for?" Elias asked, nodding toward the device. Naya hesitated. Her fingers tapped lightly on the alien alloy box as if she needed to feel its presence to speak about it. "It's a call," she said. "Not to the coalition, not to any ship. It's a call to something that's already here." Elias stared. "You're calling the thing that made people disappear?" "No," she said quickly, then paused. "Maybe, I don't know, I'm calling the system." "The one that's supposed to answer." Elias frowned. "System?" Naya looked at him like he was behind in class, and she did not have time to teach him gently. "This world is not just a dust ball," she said. "It's engineered, layered, sealed in places, hidden beneath older structures." The station was built on top of something, Elias. The solar tower wasn't only for power, it was also a marker. Elias glanced at the fallen tower again. "A marker for what?" "For a lock," Naya said. The word hung between them. Elias felt his pulse increase. His scout training told him to step back to report to call command, but the local band was silent. The station's comm grid was dead, and he could see the desperation in Naya's face. She had been alone with this problem, alone with fear, alone with the decision to stay. He said, "Show me." Naya studied him for a long moment. Then she turned and walked behind the scrap wall. Elias followed. On the other side, the ground had been cleared down to a metal hatch half buried in sand. It was not station-made. The metal was too smooth, and the seams were too clean. The hatch was circular, about the width of a small room. A thin line of faint blue light ran around its edge, barely visible in the daylight. Elias crouched and brushed the sand away with his glove. The light pulsed once like a heartbeat. "This was under the tower?" he asked. "Yes," Naya said. "I found it months ago when the power started failing and I traced the grid down. The old station plans don't show it. The coalition records don't mention it, but it's here." Elias looked at the markings near the rim. They were not letters. They looked like symbols made of angles and curves, almost like a map drawn by someone who thought in shapes instead of words. He felt a strange sense of being watched, though nothing moved. "How did you open it?" he asked. "I didn't," she said. "Not fully. It opens for a moment sometimes, like it's testing the air, like it's listening. I can't force it. It doesn't respond to tools. It only responds to patterns." "Patterns?" Naya tapped her temple. "Rhythm, sequence. Old codes. I've tried everything I know. Engineering logic, coalition encryption, even the songs my grandmother taught me." She paused, and her voice dropped. "Some of those songs are older than Earth's satellites. They traveled through generations like they were trying to reach this place." Elias stared at her. "You think your songs are keys?" "I don't know," she said, frustrated. "But I know this. When I sing certain lines, the light changes. When I speak certain words, the hatch warms. And when the storms come, it hums like it wants to wake up." Elias looked around. Storms? Nea's face hardened. Not normal storms, not just dust and wind. The sky turns green at the edges, the ground shakes, the station lights flicker even when the grid is off. And people hear things, she swallowed. Whispers in their radios, footsteps in empty halls, their own names spoken by voices that don't belong to anyone. Elias felt his throat tight. And then they disappear. Yes, Nea said. Her eyes shone, but she did not cry. Her despair was the kind that had already spent its tears. First, it was just one person, then two, then a whole family. The station leadership tried to call for help, but the comm satellites went dark. Ships stopped coming. The last message from the coalition was a shipping notice that never arrived. Elias wanted to swear, but he kept it in. Why would the coalition abandon a station? Nea's mouth twisted. Because Dustfall was never important to them. It's a resource stop, a fuel point. A place to scrape profit from sand and pretend it matters. She pointed at the hatch. And maybe because they know what this is, or they found out and decided it was easier to erase the problem than face it. Elias stood slowly. His mind raced through possibilities. A buried alien facility, a containment site, a weapon, a prison, a machine that did not like humans living on top of it. And then there was Nea alone, trying to keep a broken beacon running like it was the last candle in a storm. "What do you want me to do?" he asked, and he meant it. Not as a question that pushed responsibility back onto her, as a promise that he would act. Nea looked at him, and for the first time her mask cracked. The despair in her eyes became something raw, something close to fear. "I want someone else to know," she said. "I want proof, I want a witness, because if I'm the only one left, the universe will say I made it up. They'll call it superstition, they'll call it frontier madness, and then they'll bury this place and forget us." Elias felt the weight of her words settle onto him like dust. He had seen the coalition's cold logic. He had watched worlds become numbers, colonies become footnotes. He had been part of it, even when he told himself he was just doing his job. He looked down at the hatch again. The blue light pulsed faintly, steady now, like it had accepted his presence. "All right," he said. "You've got your witness, now you've got help." Nea's shoulders sagged slightly, like she had been holding herself upright with pure will and finally let a fraction of it go. But she did not smile. "Help might not be enough," she said. Elias glanced back toward his ship on the landing pad. It looked small against the empty station. "Then we'll make it enough." Nea studied him. "You always talk like that," she said. "Like words can pull miracles out of sand." Elias gave a tired half-smile. "Sometimes they can. Sometimes they remind people they're not alone." The wind shifted again. Far out in the desert, a low rumble rolled across the ground. It was distant like thunder, but the sky was clear. Nea stiffened. She turned her head slightly, listening. Elias felt it too, not with his ears, but with the soles of his boots. A vibration, faint but real. The broken solar tower creaked as if something below it moved. Nea's hand went to the modified beacon unit. "It's starting," she whispered. Elias' muscles tightened. "The storm?" "Not yet," she said. "Something else." The hatch's blue line brightened just a little, as if responding to the distant rumble. The alien alloy box near the beacon warmed, and a tiny indicator light that had been dead a moment ago blinked to life. Elias watched it and felt a chill crawl up his spine. "What does that mean?" he asked. Nea's voice was low. "It means it hurt us." Elias looked at her, then at the empty streets of Dustfall Station, then at the endless desert that surrounded them like an ocean. His instincts told him to run, to fly, to get distance. But his eyes kept returning to Nea's face, to the stubborn strength behind her fear. A cowboy did not run just because the night got darker. A scout did not leave a friend behind. He rested his hand near his rifle case, not in threat, but in readiness. "Okay," he said. "Then we talk back, we figure out what it wants." Nea's gaze sharpened. "And if what it wants is us?" Elias took a slow breath. He looked down at the hatch again, glowing like a thin ring of starlight trapped under sand. "Then we make sure it learns something about humans," he said. "We don't vanish quietly." The rumble came again, closer this time. A few loose bolts on the scrap wall rattled. In the far distance, a line of dust lifted into the air as if the desert itself had exhaled. Nea picked up her tools with quick hands, her despair turning into focused urgency. Elias stepped beside her. He did not know what waited under that hatch, but he knew one thing with certainty. The rumble did not stop after that night. It became part of Dustfall Station, like the wind and the dust. Sometimes it was so faint that Elias thought he imagined it. Other times it rolled through the ground like a giant turning in its sleep. Morning came slow and pale. The sky stayed a washed-out gray, and the sun looked like a tired coin behind thin clouds. Elias woke on the floor of the old clinic, where Naya had set up a small base. The building still had power in a few rooms, thanks to a line she had pulled from a working battery bank. The light above him flickered as he sat up. Naya was already awake. She sat at a table made from a door laid across two crates. Wires, tools, and small data screens covered its surface. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but her hands moved with steady focus. "You should rest more," Elias said. She did not look up. "You should stop pretending rest fixes this." He gave a small breath of a laugh. "Fair." He stood and stretched. The clinic smelled of old medicine and dust. Most of the beds were gone, taken apart for parts or barricades. On one wall, someone had painted a simple symbol in blue. It looked like a circle with a line through it. Elias did not know what it meant, but he had seen it in a few other buildings. "What's that sign?" he asked. Naya glanced at it. "It means safe," she said. "Or it used to. People marked places where they thought the whispers could not reach." "Did it work?" She shook her head. "Nothing worked forever." Elias walked to the window and looked out. The street was empty, but the dust had new patterns in it. Long lines ran across the ground, like something had dragged itself through the sand during the night. The lines led away from the solar tower and disappeared toward the open desert. He felt a tightness in his chest. "Naya," he said quietly, "you need to see this." She joined him at the window. Her face went still when she saw the marks. "It's moving more," she said. "It used to stay below, now it's reaching." Elias looked at the sky, half expecting to see something there. "What is it?" Naya took a breath. "I don't know its name, I only know what I've found in the old layers." She turned back to her table and pulled up a faded map on a small screen. It showed Dustfall Station, but beneath it were other shapes, other structures, like a second city drawn in ghost lines under the first. "This was here before humans," she said. "Long before." The station was built right on top of a network. Tunnels, chambers, systems. Whoever made it didn't just build a base. They built a shell around something. "A prison," Elias said. "Maybe," Naya replied. "Or a shield or a heart." Elias crossed his arms. "Those are very different things." "Yes," she said. "That's what scares me." They spent the morning checking what still worked in the station. Elias walked the outer edge with his rifle on his back, more for comfort than use. He found a water pump that still ran, though it made a grinding sound. He found a storage bay with food packs that had not expired yet. He found a calm tower that had been smashed, not by time or weather, but by something heavy and precise. When he came back, Naya had managed to get one of the old satellites to respond for a few seconds at a time. The screen showed broken images of space, stars jumping in and out like a bad dream. "I can't send a full message," she said, "but I can push a signal, a kind of shout." "Can the coalition hear it?" Elias asked. "Maybe," she said, "or maybe something else will." Elias did not like that answer, but he nodded. They went back to the hatch near the fallen solar tower. The blue light was brighter now, steady instead of faint. The air around it felt warm, even in the cool morning. Naya knelt and placed her hands on the alien alloy box. She closed her eyes. Elias watched her, unsure what to do, feeling like a guard at a door he did not understand. She began to speak, not in English, not in any language Elias knew. The words were soft and slow, like a song without a tune. The hatch's light pulsed in time with her voice. Elias felt the ground shift under his boots. A low sound rose from below, not loud, but deep. It did not hurt his ears. It felt like it went straight into his bones. Naya opened her eyes. "It's responding," she said. "Responding how?" Elias asked. She swallowed. "By asking." "Ask what?" "Who we are," she said, "and why we are here." Elias stared at the hatch. He did not know how to talk to a buried ancient system, but he knew how to talk as a human. He stepped forward. "We live here," he said, his voice steady. "We built our homes on this land. We didn't know you were here, but we're not your enemy." The ground vibrated again. The blue light shifted, turning slightly green at the edges. Naya looked at him in shock. "It understood that." "How can you tell?" he asked. "Because it just told me something," she said. Elias felt his pulse jump. "What?" "That it's been alone for a very long time." They stood in silence after that. The moment broke when a sharp sound cut through the air. A warning tone from Naya's screen. She rushed back to the clinic and Elias followed. The satellite feed flickered into focus for a second. A shape moved across the stars, then another. Then a line of them, ships, coalition ships. Elia's jaw tightened. They came back. Nea's hands shook as she tried to stabilize the image. No, she said slowly. They didn't come back. The feed sharpened just enough to show the shape of the lead vessel. Its hull was dark, its outline heavy with weapons. Elias recognized the class. It was not a supply ship. It was not a rescue ship. It was a strike cruiser. They found us, Nea whispered. Elias felt anger rise in him, hot and sharp. Then they can hear us, he said. Your signal worked. Yes, she said, but I don't think they're here to listen. They watched as the ships moved into position, forming a loose ring around the planet. The feed cut out, but the message was clear enough. Elias paced the room. They wouldn't bring that kind of firepower for a few missing settlers, he said. They know about what's under us, Nea nodded, and they're afraid of it. Or they want to destroy it, Elias said. Or us, Nea replied. A shadow passed over the window. Elias looked up and saw a small drone flying low over the street, scanning. It was coalition tech, sleek and quiet. They're already here, he said. Nea grabbed her tools. Then we don't have time. They moved fast. Nea led Elias through a back hallway of the clinic, down a stairwell that had been sealed for years. She forced it open with a crowbar and a curse. The air below was cool and clean, not like the dusty air above. A tunnel stretched out in front of them, its walls smooth and faintly glowing. The same symbols from the hatch lined the sides, carved deep into the metal. This is part of the network, Nea said. I've only explored a small section. It goes deep. It goes everywhere. Elias looked behind them. The stairwell was dark. He could hear distant sounds now, the soft hum of drones, the echo of metal footsteps. They're sending people down, he said. Nea nodded. Then we lead them where they shouldn't go. They moved through the tunnels, the light changing from blue to green to a soft gold as they went deeper. The air felt alive, like the place itself was aware of them. Elias tried to keep track of turns, but the paths twisted in ways that did not make sense. It was like walking through a maze that shifted when you weren't looking. They reached a large chamber. In the center stood a tall structure, shaped like a pillar of light frozen in metal. Energy flowed through it in slow waves. Nea stopped, breathing hard. This is a core node, she said, a control point. Elias looked at the pillar. He felt small in its presence. Can you use it? I can try, she said, but if I wake the system too fast, something bad happens, Elias finished. Yes, she said. The sound of footsteps echoed in the tunnel behind them. Voices followed. Coalition soldiers, calm and trained. Dustfall Station, a voice called out. This is Coalition Command. You are in a restricted zone. Come out with your hands visible. Elias stepped in front of Nea without thinking. They're not going to stop, he said. Nea placed her hands on the pillar. Then we don't either. The pillar brightened. The symbols on the walls began to glow. The ground vibrated, stronger than before. Elias raised his rifle, not at the soldiers, but at the space between them and Nea, like he could draw a line the universe had to respect. The soldiers appeared at the end of the tunnel. Their armor reflected the golden light. They froze when they saw the chamber. What is that? One of them whispered. Nea spoke, her voice clear and strong. This is the heart of this world, and you are standing in its shadow. The pillar pulsed. The soldiers' comm units crackled with static. Elias felt something brush against his mind, gentle but vast, like a hand the size of a planet resting on his thoughts. A single idea formed, not in words but in feeling. This place was not a weapon. It was a guardian. The chamber shook as the system woke further, and for the first time since he returned to Dustfall Station, Elias felt something stronger than fear. He felt hope. Above them, the sky filled with ships. Below them, an ancient presence stretched and listened. The chamber did not explode into chaos the way Elias expected. Instead, it grew quiet. The soldiers at the tunnel entrance lowered their weapons, not because they were told to, but because their hands felt heavy. The golden light from the pillar washed over their armor, their faces, their eyes. The static in their comm units softened into a low hum, like distant wind. Nea stood with her hands still pressed against the pillar. Her breathing was slow and deep, like she was trying to match her rhythm to something much larger than herself. Elias felt the presence again. It did not push into his mind. It did not demand anything. It simply waited like a mountain waits for the sky to change. One of the soldiers took a careful step forward. "Command," he said into his helmet. "We're inside some kind of structure. It's alive. I don't know how else to say it." His comm unit crackled, but no clear reply came back. Nea opened her eyes. They glowed faintly in the golden light. "It doesn't want to fight," she said. "It wants to be understood." Elias glanced at the soldiers. They looked unsure, trained for battle, but standing in a place where battle felt wrong, like trying to shout in a cathedral. "What does it want?" Elias asked. Nea closed her eyes again, listening. "It wants to show us something," she said. "It's memory." The pillar's light shifted. The walls of the chamber faded, not physically, but in perception. Elias blinked, and suddenly he was not standing in the tunnel anymore. He saw a sky filled with stars, brighter and closer than any he had ever seen. Below him was a world not yet dustfall, green and blue instead of pale and brown. Great shapes moved across its surface, not machines, not animals, but something in between. They built with light and sound, shaping land and sky like artists working with clay. He felt Nea beside him, even though he could not see her. He felt the soldiers too, their minds pulled into the same vision. "This is them," Nea whispered. "The builders." The vision shifted. The builders looked up, not at the sky, but beyond it. A shadow moved between stars, not a ship, not a thing with a shape that made sense. It was absence, like someone had cut a hole in reality. Fear rippled through the builders, not loud, but deep. Elias felt it in his chest. The builders worked fast. They reshaped the world, turning it into a shell, a cradle, a shield. They placed something at its heart, something that glowed like the pillar in the chamber. They did not trap the shadow. They prepared for it. The vision faded. The chamber returned. The soldiers staggered slightly, like people waking from a dream. One of them took off his helmet, his face pale. "What was that?" he whispered. Nea lowered her hands from the pillar. She looked exhausted, but her eyes were clear. "This world is not a prison," she said. "It's a refuge, a guard post. The system under us watches for something that moves between stars and erases life." Elias swallowed. "And the coalition built a station on top of it without knowing. Or without caring," Nea said. The soldier who had spoken earlier looked at his weapon, then at the glowing walls. "Command didn't tell us any of this." Elias met his eyes. "Would you have come if they did?" The soldier hesitated. Before he could answer, a new sound rolled through the chamber. Not from below, but from above. A deep, distant thrum like the sky itself was being stretched. Nea looked up. "They're charging their weapons," she said. "The fleet." Elias felt a cold wave of anger. "They're going to try to burn the problem away." The soldier shook his head. "If they fire on this place, they could wake the system fully," Nea said, "or break it. Either way, the thing the builders feared will not stay away." The ground trembled again, stronger than before. Dust fell from the ceiling. The pillar flared bright. Elias stepped forward. "Then we have to stop them." The soldier laughed weakly. "With what harsh language?" Nea straightened. "With truth," she said, "and a signal they can't ignore." She turned back to the pillar. "This system can reach beyond this world. It was made to watch the stars, to listen." Elias understood. "You want to use it to broadcast." "Yes," she said, "not just to the fleet, to everyone." The soldiers looked at each other. One of them nodded slowly. "If command hears this, if the public hears this, they can't pretend it's just a lost station." Elias felt a spark of something he had not felt in a long time. Purpose. "Let's make some noise." Nea placed her hands on the pillar again. This time the light spread beyond the chamber, racing through the tunnels like liquid gold. The walls glowed, the symbols pulsed, and Elias felt the system open itself, like a vast eye turning toward the stars. Above them, in orbit, screens lit up on coalition ships. Signals cut through their networks not as an attack, but as a message. Images flooded their systems. The builders, the shadow, the purpose of Dustfall. On the strike cruiser, officers stared in silence as the truth filled their command room. Down below in the chamber, the soldiers' comm units crackled to life. "Stand by," a voice said, tight and uncertain. "We're receiving data, visuals. This is not what we were briefed on." Elias exhaled. "Good." But the sky did not calm. The deep thrum grew louder. Through the tunnel above, Elias could see a faint red glow reflecting off the walls. "They already fired," Nea said softly. "A test shot." Elias' heart pounded. "Can the system stop it?" Nea shook her head. "Not yet. It's not fully awake." The chamber shook hard enough to knock one of the soldiers off his feet. The pillar flared and Elias felt the presence surge, no longer just watching, but reacting. He felt a wave of emotion that was not human, not anger, not fear, something like resolve. The system was choosing. Outside, high above the planet, a beam of energy struck the upper atmosphere. The sky burned bright for a moment like a second sun trying to be born. On the ground, the heat washed over Dustfall Station. Old metal creaked. Sand turned to glass in places. Elias braced himself. "Naya, I'm here," she shouted back, her hands still on the pillar, her hair lifting in a wind that did not come from the tunnel. The system responded. A field of light spread out from the planet's surface, thin at first, then stronger. It did not explode outward. It grew layer by layer like a shield being woven from air and energy. The second test shot from orbit struck the field and scattered into harmless colors like sunlight through rain. In the chamber, the soldiers stared. Naya laughed, breathless and disbelieving. It worked. Elias felt a grin pull at his face. "That's our guardian." But the fleet did not retreat. A new message came through the soldiers' comms. "All units hold position. Command is reviewing the data. Do not engage." Elias knew what that meant. The coalition was not a single mind. It was a machine made of many parts, and machines did not change direction quickly. "We need to keep the signal going," Naya said. "We need to make sure everyone sees this, not just command." Elias nodded. "How long can the system hold that shield?" Naya hesitated. "I don't know." It was not made to fight a fleet. It was made to stand watch against something else. The ground vibrated again, but this time the feeling was different, not just power, but strain. Elias looked at the pillar. "It's hurting," Naya's voice broke. "It's been alone for so long." And now the first thing it meets is a weapon. One of the soldiers stepped forward. "What can we do?" Elias looked at him, then at the others. "You can choose," he said. "You can follow orders that erase this place, or you can stand here and be witnesses." The soldier took off his helmet fully. "I didn't sign up to wipe out a world." One by one, the others lowered their weapons. Above, in orbit, the shield continued to glow. On screens across human space, the broadcast spread. People saw the builders, they saw the shadow. They saw Dustfall's true purpose. Messages flooded coalition channels. Civilian networks lit up. The story could not be buried now. In the chamber, the pillar dimmed slightly like a tired star. Naya leaned against it, breathing hard. Elias stepped forward and steadied her. "You did it," he said. "We did," she replied. The presence brushed against them again, gentle and grateful. Outside, the rumble of the fleet changed. Ships shifted position, not into attack lines, but into waiting patterns. The sky over Dustfall did not burn again. For the first time since Elias had returned, the station above them felt like it might have a future. But the system's vision still lingered in his mind. The shadow between stars, the thing the builders feared. He looked at Naya. "If that thing comes back," Naya met his gaze. "Then this world won't stand alone," she said, "and neither will we." The guardian beneath them settled into a steady, watchful hum. The shield above faded, but the message it sent did not. Dustfall Station was no longer just a forgotten outpost. The quiet that followed felt heavier than the noise that came before. The chamber still glowed with soft gold light, but the pillar no longer shone like a rising sun. It hummed instead, slow and steady, like a tired heart that refused to stop beating. Naya sat on the cool floor beside it, her back against the metal, her eyes closed. Elias stood near the tunnel entrance, watching the soldiers and listening for any sound from above. The guardian presence was still there. It did not press against his thoughts anymore. It simply existed like a calm lake after a storm. One of the soldiers cleared his throat. "Command is arguing," he said quietly, his helmet resting under his arm. "Different channels. Different orders. Half the fleet wants to pull back. The other half wants to secure this place before someone else does." Elias sighed. "Sounds about right." Naya opened her eyes. "They don't understand yet," she said. "They think this is a resource, a tool. Something they can claim." The soldier frowned. "What is it, really?" Naya placed her hand on the pillar again, gently this time, like touching the side of a sleeping animal. "It's a promise," she said. "From a people who believed the universe was worth protecting, even from things they could not defeat." The ground trembled faintly, not from weapons, from something moving deep below, slow and careful. Elias looked at the tunnel above. "We should check the station," he said. "If the fleet decides to land troops, we need to know where they'll come in." Naya stood, steadying herself. "I'll come with you." The soldiers hesitated. Their leader nodded. "We'll stay here, keep the node safe." Elias and Naya moved back through the tunnels, the soft light guiding their way. When they reached the stairwell and stepped into the dusty air of the station, the sky above had changed. Coalition ships still hung in orbit, but they were no longer in tight formation. Some had pulled back, others drifted uncertain. A few small shuttles moved slowly toward the planet, not fast or aggressive, but cautious. Elias shaded his eyes. Looks like they're sending diplomats, he said, or scouts. Naya crossed her arms, or both. They walked through the empty streets. The wind had picked up again, carrying fine sand that whispered against the metal walls. The marks in the dust from the night before were still there, but new ones had joined them. Long, curved lines like something large had shifted beneath the surface. Elias felt it in his boots. The Guardian was moving, but not in panic, more like stretching after a long sleep. They reached the old market ring. Elias stopped. "This used to be loud," he said. "Music." People arguing over prices, kids running between stalls. Naya nodded. "My grandmother sold beadwork here. She said every sale was a story. You never just traded objects. You traded pieces of your life." Elias looked at the closed stalls and felt a tightness in his chest. "We'll hear it again," he said. "One day." Naya studied him. "You really believe that?" He shrugged. "Someone has to." A shuttle descended in the distance, its engines kicking up a cloud of dust near the landing pad. Elias and Naya headed that way, staying in the open where they could be seen. Hiding now would only make things worse. The shuttle touched down softly. Its hatch opened and a small group stepped out. They were not in heavy armor. They wore simple uniforms marked with coalition symbols, and one of them carried a data pad instead of a weapon. A woman with gray hair tied back stepped forward. "Elias Cole," she said, reading from the pad. "Naya Redfeather." Naya's eyes narrowed. "You know our names." "We know a lot of things now," the woman replied. "I'm Director Hale. I oversee frontier operations." Elias folded his arms. "Then you oversee a mess." Hale gave a thin smile. "That's why I'm here." They stood in the dust, the broken station around them, the sky full of watching ships. Hale gestured behind her. "We've received your broadcast, the data from the system, the vision. It's hard to deny." Naya stepped forward. "Then stop trying." Hale met her gaze. "The coalition is not a single voice. Some see this as a threat, others see it as a responsibility." "And you?" Elias asked. Hale looked at the horizon for a moment. "I see a line in the sand," she said. "And I know how dangerous it is to cross one without understanding what's on the other side." The ground rumbled again, stronger this time. The dust at their feet jumped slightly. Hale stiffened. "What was that?" "The Guardian," Naya said. "It's waking more." Elias felt it too. The presence brushed against his thoughts, not just him, but the people around him. He saw Hale blink, her hand tightening on the data pad. Hale took a slow breath. "It's aware of us." "Yes," Naya said, "and it's afraid." Hale looked surprised. "Afraid of us?" "Of what we might do," Naya replied. Before Hale could answer, a voice crackled through her comm unit. "Director, Command wants a status update. There's pressure to deploy containment teams." Hale closed her eyes briefly. "Tell them to wait." The comm unit went quiet. Elias leaned closer to Naya. "They're running out of time," he whispered. "So are we," she replied. Another rumble rolled through the ground, followed by a low, deep sound that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. The air felt thick, like the moment before a storm breaks. Hale looked around, her face pale. "What is it doing?" Naya's voice shook slightly. "It's reaching out not just to us, to the stars." Elias looked up. He could swear the sky looked different, like the stars behind the daylight were closer, watching through a thin veil. Back in the chamber, the soldiers called out through their comms. "The node is flaring. Energy levels are rising fast." Naya turned to Hale. "If it wakes fully without guidance, it might see the fleet as a threat. It might act on instinct, not understanding." Hale's jaw tightened. "What happens then?" "It could push them away," Naya said, "or it could do something worse." Elias did not like the sound of that. "Then we guide it." Hale hesitated. "How?" Naya took a deep breath. "I have to go back to the node. I have to help it understand, not just show it fear, show it who we are." Elias stepped in. "You're not going alone." Hale looked between them. "This is not a civilian matter anymore." Elias met her eyes. "It never was. It's a human one." The rumble grew louder, turning into a steady vibration. In the distance, one of the ships in orbit fired a small probe toward the planet, a thin streak of light against the sky. Naya gasped. "They're testing the shield again," the Guardian responded instantly. The air shimmered. A faint, wide arc of light spread over the station like a ghost of the shield from before. The probe struck it and vanished in a flash. Hale stared. "If they keep doing that, it will escalate," Naya said. "On both sides." Elias grabbed his rifle case and slung it over his shoulder. "Then we move now?" They ran, back through the streets, down the stairwell, into the glowing tunnels. The light was brighter now, almost blinding. The walls hummed with energy. In the chamber, the pillar blazed. The soldiers stood back, their faces lit gold. Nea rushed forward and placed her hands on it again. Elias stood close, his hand on her shoulder, grounding himself and her. Hale and two of her team watched from the edge, unsure but unable to look away. Nea closed her eyes. "Listen to me," she whispered, not in words but in feeling. Elias felt her memories spill into the presence. The market, the beadwork, the laughter of children, the quiet nights under stars, the pain of loss, the hope of return. Elias added his own without knowing how. Long patrols through empty space, the loneliness of drifting between worlds. The moment he came back and saw Nea standing alone by the broken tower. The Guardian responded. The chamber filled with images, not just of the builders and the shadow, but of humans. Of Dustfall's past, of people arriving on ships, building homes, planting flags, then painting over them with murals and names and stories. Hale staggered as the wave of memory hit her. She grabbed the wall to steady herself. "It's showing us," she whispered. "It's showing us why this place matters." Above, the fleet's channels lit up again. The broadcast surged stronger, clearer. The Guardian was no longer just sending warnings, it was sharing a story. On distant worlds, people stopped and watched. They saw Dustfall not as a dot on a map, but as a living place, layered with human lives and ancient purpose. The vibration reached a peak. The pillar's light flared white for a moment, then settled into a deep, calm blue. Nea opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. She was smiling. "It understands," she said. "It knows we're not the shadow, we're the ones who stayed." The ground stilled, the hum softened, Hale's comm unit crackled. "Director," a voice said, shaken. "Public channels are flooded, there's pressure from every sector." "Command is standing down the strike order." Hale closed her eyes and let out a long breath. "Good," she said. "Tell them Dustfall is under protection, not just ours." She looked at Elias and Nea. "I can't promise the Coalition will always do the right thing," she said. "But I can promise this won't be forgotten." Elias nodded. "That's all we ask." The Guardian presence brushed over them one more time, warm and steady, like sunlight through clouds. Outside, the fleet began to move away. Ships turned slowly and carefully, like animals backing away from a fire they finally recognized as alive. Dustfall Station was still broken, still quiet, still scarred, but it was no longer alone. Elias stepped back from the pillar and looked at Nea. "Looks like you just became the most important person on this planet," she laughed weakly. "I don't want to be important, I just want it to be home again." Elias smiled. "Let's start with that." Above them, the sky cleared. For the first time in a long while, the stars looked like something to reach for, not something to fear. Dustfall Station did not change all at once. The broken solar tower still lay on its side. The market stalls were still closed. The wind still carried sand through empty streets. But something in the air felt different, like the world had taken its first full breath in a very long time. Elias stood on the landing pad and watched the last Coalition ship turn and fade into the sky. Its engines left a thin white line that slowly vanished in the pale clouds. When it was gone, the sky felt whiter than before. Nea stood beside him, her hands resting on her hips. She looked tired, but there was a light in her eyes that had not been there when he first returned. "They really left," she said softly. "For now," Elias replied. "But this time they didn't leave us in the dark." Nea nodded. "People are watching now, that matters." They walked back into the station together. The clinic door stood open and sunlight spilled across the floor. Dust danced in the beam of light, turning the air into a slow, golden haze. The soldiers who had stayed behind were packing their gear. Their leader approached Elias and Nea. "We've been reassigned," he said. "Officially, this place is now a protected site." "Scientific and cultural." Nea raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like a lot of words for hands off." The soldier smiled. "That's exactly what it means." He hesitated, then held out a small device. "This is a direct comm link, not to command, to me. If anything changes, you won't be alone." Elias took it and nodded. "Appreciate it." The soldiers left, their boots echoing down the street. When they were gone, Dustfall Station felt quiet again, but not empty. It felt like a place waiting. They went back down to the tunnels one last time that day. The Guardian's chamber was calm, the pillar glowing with a soft, steady blue. Nea approached it slowly, like someone visiting a sleeping friend. She placed her hand on the metal. "Thank you," she whispered. Elias felt the presence stir gently, like a warm breeze across his thoughts. Not words, just a feeling of recognition. They left the chamber and climbed back up to the surface. The sun was setting, turning the sky a deep orange and purple. The desert beyond the station looked almost beautiful in the fading light. That night, they sat on the roof of the clinic with a small fire burning in a metal barrel. Elias had found an old radio that still worked on local bands. Soft music played, crackling and distant but real. Naya stared out at the stars. "My grandmother used to say the sky was a map," she said. "Not of places, but of stories. Every light was a memory." Elias poked at the fire with a metal rod. "Guess we just added a new one." She smiled. "Yeah, the day a world decided not to be forgotten." In the days that followed, ships began to arrive again. Not warships, small transports, research vessels, civilian freighters, people who had seen the broadcast and wanted to help. Engineers worked to fix the solar tower. It took time, but slowly, piece by piece, it rose back toward the sky. Lights came on in the streets again. The water fountain in the market ring flowed for the first time in months. Naya helped set up a small archive in the old station office. She filled it with recordings, stories, songs, and images, not just of the Guardian and the builders, but of the people who had lived on Dustfall. She said the world deserved to be remembered for more than what slept beneath it. Elias found himself staying longer than he planned, then longer still. His ship sat on the landing pad ready, but he did not feel the pull of the stars the way he used to. One morning he woke to the sound of voices outside. He stepped into the street and saw children running past, laughing. A family had arrived the night before, settlers who believed in second chances. Elias watched them go, feeling something warm in his chest. He had seen a lot of worlds. Not many of them got a moment like this. Naya joined him, holding a small data pad. "You're going to like this," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "That's a dangerous thing to say." She handed him the pad. On the screen was a message. It was from a distant colony light years away. The subject line read, "DUSTFALL Guardian Project." Elias scrolled. "They want to build stations like this," he said. "Watcher systems, not weapons, warnings." Naya nodded. "They want to learn from the builders, from the Guardian." "From us," Elias leaned against the wall. "Guess humanity finally found something it wants to protect instead of control." "Don't get too hopeful," Naya said, but she was smiling. "We're still human." The Guardian stirred beneath the station, not as a rumble of warning, but as a steady, calm presence. It had become part of Dustfall's rhythm, like a heartbeat under the ground. One evening, as the sky filled with stars, a small group gathered in the market ring. Someone had brought instruments, someone else had brought food, the first real gathering since the station had gone silent. Naya stood in the center and spoke. "This place almost became a footnote," she said. "A lost name in a long list of forgotten worlds, but it didn't. Because people stayed, because someone came back." She looked at Elias. He shifted, uncomfortable with the attention. "I just didn't leave," he said. "That's how most important things start," she replied. They ate, they talked, they laughed. Stories filled the air, mixing with the sound of the wind and the distant hum of the Guardian. Later that night, Elias walked alone to the edge of the station. The desert stretched out before him, quiet and endless. He looked up at the stars and thought about the shadow the builders had feared, the thing that erased worlds. He felt the Guardian's presence again, steady and watchful. "We'll be ready," he said softly, not sure who he was speaking to. "This time we won't be alone." Behind him, footsteps approached. Naya stopped beside him. "You're thinking about leaving," she said. He did not deny it. "Old habits," she nodded. "The stars still call." "They do," he said, "but so does this place," she smiled. "Then maybe you don't have to choose." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Dustfall Station grew, not fast, not in a rush, but steady, honest. Elias became something new, not just a scout, not just a cowboy passing through. He helped guide ships in. He trained volunteers to patrol the desert. He told stories to children about far-off worlds and strange skies. Naya became the voice of Dustfall. She spoke to researchers, to leaders, to distant colonies. She told them about the builders, about the Guardian, about what it meant to stand watch instead of strike first. One day, a message came from the far edge of human space. Sensors had picked up something strange, a ripple between stars, not an attack, not yet, but a sign. Naya and Elias stood in the Guardian's chamber again, the pillar glowing softly. "It's starting," Elias said. Naya placed her hand on the pillar. "So are we," the Guardian responded, its presence spreading outward, not just to the stars, but through human networks, through listening posts, through every place that had chosen to pay attention. The line that Dustfall had drawn in the sand now stretched across space. Elias looked at Naya. "You ever think about how small we are? All the time, she said, but small things can still stand in front of big ones, he smiled. Guess that's the human part. Outside, Dustfall Station glowed under a sky full of stars. Lights in windows, voices in streets, life where there had almost been nothing. The world that had once been a forgotten stop on a long road had become something else. A home, a warning, a promise.